Hey, this is Jessica Hammer, host of Crowned and Dangerous. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Julianne Condia, host of Rewritten, here on Public House Media. Thank you so much for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Rewritten, where we will talk about you having limitless potential and can rewrite your story at any time. No matter your background, your past, or current situation, you can have the type of life you crave. A new show comes out every single Monday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Rewritten. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Welcome to the C. Jane Sell podcast,
a relatable sales podcast for your weekly dose of sanity. I'm your host, Chelsea Dupre.
and I'm your host, Lee Nevis.
Happy Thursday, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys listening. This is Chelsea.
And this is Lee.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
Today, we are talking about some sales techniques as well as how a company was built from the ground up. So I moved to Kentucky from a city called San Jose, if you haven't heard of it. And I worked at a place called Orange Theory Fitness. And one of the coworkers and coaches for OTF, his name is Adam. And him and his friend started a company called Mind Pump.
Mm-hmm.
So Mind Pump, they have programs, and I've done their program, and it's phenomenal, and you can get amazing results. But their program, it's all about fitness and the fitness industry and how they made themselves different. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. And we also, Adam and his team at Mind Pump, they have their own podcasts. They're absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they delve in every week to topics that really matter about,
That's just raw and
it's very raw
legit
and very real and authentic. And so, I mean, you'll notice even in our interview with him, we don't do an intro. We literally dive.
It just got so good from the start. We're like, oh crap, we should have started hitting record.
Yeah, he is a absolute, just a wheel of knowledge. The amount of,
he's an expert.
Yeah, the amount of experience that he has and what he's been through and what he's seen and the struggles that he's seen some of his clients and some of his friends go through. He genuinely cares about educating people about fitness and not just selling you on a product. And that is this is why Mind Pump is so incredibly successful.
Yeah. And, if you're in sales, which you probably are if you're listening, this is going to help you make yourself different, because that's the biggest and the best advice we can give you is be freaking different. Don't be like everybody else. Make your own content. Be your own person. Do your own thing. Find your how. Find your why. But you've got to be different. And he really gives super examples of how they've been different. He started his whole thing being so different, going against what everybody was saying.
Yep, completely. And just trying to be innovative and keep up without keeping up.
Yeah.
Just going out
there.
Staying relevant while staying honest.
Yeah. And
true to the brand and the morals behind your brand. So, yeah, I feel after this interview was over, I felt like I was just
so many good things to take into the workday tomorrow. I mean, it's Thursday, people. Unless you're listening to this on Friday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it is, you have X amount of days left in the week. For you, if you're listening on Thursday, you have today and tomorrow to make your week so freaking bomb and put in the work that you actually want to do that's going to get you where you're going.
Yep.
And this is such a good way to look at it and some really good advice and tips and tools to make the most out of this 2 days that you have left in the week.
Yeah, definitely.
So, buckle up.
Yeah. So, without further ado, oh my gosh, it's such a catchphrase. So we're just going to jump right in. Again, like we said, our interview there was no intro. So what you're going to hear is literally Adam just spitting straight knowledge immediately.
Yeah.
So get excited.
Delved into that.
Delved in. Get excited. This is our interview with Adam.
Adam Schafer from Mind Pump.
Woo. Give us like a little bit of background of like where Mind Pump started and where the idea formed originally.
Yeah. So the Mind Pump is formed or came to be. It's really kind of a funny story. Taylor is part of this team, and he is brand management for us in partnerships. That's what he's responsible for now. But we met almost, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago. And before that, I had already been in I've been in fitness now for 17, 18 years now. Almost 18 years. I've been in fitness, and I've been in the big box gyms. I've ran my own brick and mortar. I've done boot camps outside. I've had all these other companies and businesses that I've built. And I've heard of people that were making money from social media, but I had never met anybody personally that I knew. So at this point in my life, 7, 8 years ago, it's all rumor to me. It's like, oh yeah, there's people making millions of dollars from Facebook and Twitter. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't seen anybody yet. And then I meet this kid, Taylor, and he's playing on a men's basketball league with me. So we never met each other. We had mutual friends. I had joined this men's basketball league. And at that time, I was part of the medical marijuana movement in the Bay Area. I started 2 of the first medical marijuana clubs. Had a lot of success doing that. Had enough success that I could come and go in the gym whenever I wanted to, so I could work out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 9 o'clock, 2 in the afternoon, like whatever. Like I had a lot of flexibility, right? And this kid who played on my basketball team was in the gym at all these weird hours as I was. And he's always wearing like a new pair of sneakers, and he was dressed all fly, and he was wearing he's driving a cool car. And I knew he was only like 22, 23 years old. And I also knew he was like a church kid. So I'm like, this isn't like a drug dealer. Like, what's this kid doing? So after we get done playing, I walk up to him. And I'm like, hey, man, I said, what do you do for work? And he's like, oh, I've got an e-commerce business that I built off of my Twitter. And I'm like, really? And then right away, I'm like putting it together. Okay, he has enough flexibility. He doesn't have to be working right now. He's got nice things, so it's probably pretty successful. I said, hey, could I take you to lunch? And he said, sure. I said, well, what's your favorite? He goes, I love sushi. Let's go. So I took him to sushi.
Did you go to Sushi Confidential?
That's actually exactly where we went.
I knew it.
That's my spot.
Geisha Girl for life.
That's right. That's my spot. I'm an RSM guy, but that's my.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Right? So and a kamikaze.
Oh, yeah.
So so we're there, right? And we must have talked for like 3-4 hours, and he just laid the blueprint for me. So now what he did, that was brilliant and fascinating. Mind you, he's only a 23-year-old kid right now, so I'm very impressed by this kid, and judging by the numbers and the things he's sharing me, I'm guesstimating he's got like a 6-figure business that he has built from his Twitter and his Facebook. And what he did that was brilliant was I was into shoes, he was into shoes. And back then, when you wanted a pair of like Jordan 7s that were hard to find, you reach out to somebody who knows somebody who has those and would resell those to you. And I'm definitely one of those assholes that pays 2 to 3 times the price because I just want those shoes because I'm a collector. And he's the type of guy that takes advantage of guys, or you would think would take advantage of a guy like me because he's a broker. He would say, hey, Adam, I've got my friend Tommy who's got those Jordan 7s for, $320, and he puts us together and he makes a broker fee. He makes $50 to $100 of the cheese on top of that, right? So this is not an uncommon business. Now, what Taylor did that was so brilliant and different than anybody else was he didn't make any money. What he did was he was just known as the guy to make sure he put together people that had made sure the shoes were authentic so I didn't get screwed, made sure the money came through on the other end, so he would front money a lot of times to make sure he protected that. So he became a very trusted source that connected sneakerheads together to buy shoes. And because he didn't charge a broker fee, he was known to be the cheapest in the area. So he became an authority in the sneaker world in the Bay Area pretty fast. And back then, there was just Twitter and Facebook, no Instagram around yet. And he blew up. And by blow up, I mean he only had 10,000 followers. So he had 10,000 Facebook followers and Twitter followers, but they were all sneakerheads, and they all were coming to him for this. He took that, and then he pivoted to an e-commerce site where he sold T-shirts and clocks and keychains and beanies and little gadgets that had air fresheners, and they all had like sneakers on them. You know, the air freshener with like, you know, I remember he had an image. Chris Brown bought one of his, Jordan air fresheners, and it was hanging in his Lamborghini, and he took a picture of it, and that was like a big day for him, right, to have someone as big as Chris Brown doing that.
Yeah.
And this is how he gained all this traction, and it was absolutely brilliant. And when he did that, that was the moment that I decided to turn my Instagram. I thought to myself right away, I thought, okay, this kid, if he's smart enough to figure this out, I can do this for fitness. And at that very moment, I turned Instagram on with the intentions to build a social media, quote unquote, brand or business around my Instagram. And that was right when Instagram was coming out. And I started off, I was out of shape because I was at this time I was in the medical marijuana field. I was eating fucking Cheetos and Taco Bell, and even though I was a fitness guy, I was eating crappy food and sitting behind a counter and smoking weed.
Yeah.
And I got in the worst shape of my life. But like most things in my life, when I have obstacles or things like this, I see them as opportunities. And I thought, this is perfect. I'm 30 years old at this point. I'm in the worst shape of my life, and here is this visual platform that I'm going to try and gain traction on. And so my vision or my idea was, okay, I'm going to show people how to go from fat to fit. Now, the thing that I was going to do, though, was at this point, I'm in the worst shape of my life, and I know that I've never been leaner than about 9%. So I come out announcing I'm in the worst shape of my life, and I'm going to go to the best shape of my life that I've ever been in, 30 years old. And I'm going to document that process, and I'm going to share that with you guys on this platform. Now, of course, one of the things that Taylor told me is when you first start this, Adam, you're going to feel like an asshole because you're going to feel like you're just talking to yourself and nobody gives a shit. And he goes, this is what breaks most people. Most people, either one, they get desperate and they start doing gimmicky shit, or they just give up because it's hard. And nobody's paying attention, and you're not getting traction, and you're not making any money, and it's a lot of work. And he prepared me mentally for that, hey, you're going to spend a minimum of 1 to 2 years of pumping content and nobody really paying attention before you may get some traction. And I'm the type of person, like, I'm up for the challenge. If it's hard, then most people can't do it. I like that. I'm in now. So I start posting away. At that point, I'm posting 4 times a day. And I don't know what I'm really doing, to be honest. Like, a lot of what I've learned and what we've created today, a lot of that is through trial and error. Just putting our foot forward, putting stuff out there, using it as a litmus test, what people like, what they don't like. But what I started to realize really quick was when I was posting things and I was starting to follow all these fitness pages, the people that were the most famous and that had the most traction and the most eyes on them were promoting some of the most bullshit. And I know from all my years as a trainer, at this time I've got 15 years under my belt or so of personal training, and I've trained probably close to 1,000, if not more, clients. And so I've got a lot of experience, and I know what works and what doesn't work, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned from that. And I'm seeing a lot of these kids out here posting, and what they're good at is taking good images and sexy pics and cool stuff that gets people on. But the information they're providing is dog shit. And so I'm coming out with information that's very counter to what all my peers are posting on Instagram. And of course, at the very beginning when I was fat, nobody gave a shit, and it wasn't getting any traction. But week over week, I got leaner and leaner and leaner, and I was doing it very methodically. And I'm coming out and I'm talking against things like beast mode and no days off and kill it in the gym and the leg memes that were going around. I'm coming out countering that information, saying that's a terrible approach to health and fitness. It's a terrible way to get in shape. It'll be short-lived, and you'll never be able to maintain that. There's a much smarter way to do it. In fact, training this way, the body gets adapted to that, and then you hit a hard plateau, and then what do you do next? So I'm kind of educating my audience along the way as I'm showing them while I do it. And before long, I started to get some real traction. And it took me about 9 months before I went from the worst shape to the best shape of my life. I tracked it by doing like a hydrostatic weigh, which is a way it's one of the most accurate ways to do your body fat test. And at the final end of it, I knew that I was in the best shape because I'd never seen myself this way. I went and dunked, and I came out at 7%. So I went all the way from 21% body fat all the way down to 7% body fat. I documented the entire journey, gained about 10 to 15,000 followers.
Wow.
Now the mistake that I see that I knew better than to do, and Taylor forewarned me of this when I first started. He says, don't be an asshole, and just because you've got a bunch of people that are paying attention to you, try and monetize and make money right away off of them, because what'll end up happening, even if you make a few bucks, it'll end up shooting you in the foot in the long term, and it'll turn most people off. Mm-hmm. You got to continue to build value to your audience. The money will eventually come. So even while I'm building all of this, the actual vision of like what Mind Pump became and Sal, Justin, and Doug wasn't even there yet. I didn't even know that that was all going to fall together. At this point, all I'm doing is trying to build an audience by providing a ton of value to people that were following. So it was always like more value, more information, more free stuff, more this, more that, and communicating with everybody that was commenting on there and answering, and just providing all the knowledge that I had acquired over the 15 years of being a personal trainer. And I think because it was counter what most people were saying, you saw the whole transformation happen. I think that's what gave me a lot of the initial authority. Now, at the same time, I'm communicating on Facebook with Sal. Up until this point, Sal and I aren't friends yet. We don't know each other. We have mutual friends who have told us, like, you got to meet each other. Mm-hmm. And so we start communicating on Facebook. And I find out that him and Doug are building a digital online program. And he goes, hey, man, I would love for you to take a look at what I'm working on and give me your opinion. He sends it over to me, and it's absolutely brilliant. I go, it's perfect. And let me tell you, it's the perfect message for what's being sent out there right now. It's the opposite of what everybody else is saying. It's a 3-day-a-week program. It's full body. It's not split. It's not high intensity. It's not interval bullshit. It's good training with compound lifts that's programmed correctly, and it's phased so your body doesn't get adapted and it doesn't stop seeing results. It's constantly seeing change over the course of the program. And it's like nothing that I've seen out there yet. And I'm like, and this time in my career, I was just kind of piecing this together, that this is what people need to hear, because it's the opposite of what's being promoted everywhere and advertised. And so I tell him, hey, it's brilliant. And then I'm telling him, you really need to get on Instagram, because that's what's exploding. That platform's growing right now. You got to get over there. And he's like, why don't we all get together and meet? Well, at the same time, I'm talking to Justin Andrews. So Justin's also one of the co-hosts, one of our partners. Mm-hmm. And him and I were doing a side project. We were actually building an app that I was dumping a ton of money into, which has never taken off and I never ended up doing. And him and I were in the middle of working on that while Sal and Doug were building their program. So I orchestrate a meeting with all four of us. At this point, nobody is real friends yet. No one. I mean, I know Justin, Sal knows Doug, but the four of us don't know each other. And we get together in my living room at my house, and it ends up being absolute fire. And by what I mean by fire is just a lot of passion from four different guys that have a lot to say about the fitness space and what they see is wrong with it, and all the opportunity that we see by providing real, authentic, solid information. And Doug pipes in and says, why don't we put this on a podcast? And I had already kind of seen the podcasting space and was very interested in it. I'd seen the growth of it since it started. It had been around for about 5 years before that, and it had been growing and growing and growing. And I'd heard things about it, and so I was like, that piqued my interest. And I was like, well, we don't have all the equipment, and that sounds really hard. And Doug's like, nah. He's all, I have all that stuff. And he's all, it's really easy, actually. He's like, we should all get together and do a podcast. And everyone's like, fucking let's do it. Let's get together, and let's sit down, and let's record a podcast, and let's see what happens. So again, we're all getting together. There's no like, how we're going to make money. Is this going to be this big business? Everybody has different businesses. Everybody's successful entrepreneurs. Nobody needs the money, but we do have this passion around what we want to share and what we want to talk about. And we get on the mics. And the very first episode we ever did was female fitness myths. And the reason why we did that one, because women are probably the most taken advantage of when it comes to advertising and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones that people constantly poke at and try and I think it's very disrespectful. I think it's undermining women by like talking to them the way that advertising does. We knew that this was something. I mean, we knew this because all three of us had been personal trainers. Myself, 18 years, Justin, 17 years, Sal, 20 years. And it was the conversation I had to have with almost every female client I ever had. They would come in and they would say, Adam, I don't want to lift heavy weight. I don't want to get all bulky. And that statement comes from the way they were advertised and marketed to, because that couldn't be further from the truth. And what ends up happening with the body when you're somebody who always trains high repetitions, high intensity, the body gets very adapted and it becomes very efficient at exercising that way. And so the body doesn't respond, meaning it doesn't build muscle, it doesn't burn fat the way you would like it to, because it's so used to training that way. And in fact, the most beneficial thing that probably 95% of all women can do is to heavy strength train. And that's a scary message to give, but it's the fact. And what's beautiful that we know is if you can just get that message across and we can explain it to them and they actually go out and go do it, we know that it'll blow their mind. And that's the way Sal's program was designed. Is the very first phase of MAPS Anabolic is, heavy rep. It's heavy and low reps, 5 reps. And I know from all the female clients I've ever trained, most all of them never did 5 reps. They did 10, maybe at the lowest, 12, 15, 20, or they're supersetting, doing circuit type training because of all the bullshit marketing that had been told to them for so many years. And in fact, their bodies would change rapidly and significantly if they actually switched the way they programmed it. So that was what was so brilliant, one, about the programming that Sal did, and then two, by us coming out and addressing female fitness myths. And that was one of the main things that we addressed right out the gates. And it started to get traction. People were listening to our advice. At this point, too, we're not trying to sell anything. Sal and Doug have already created the program. We have a way to monetize. But again, we are not trying to sell. We're just trying to build value. And that's what we all said. We all looked at each other and said, here's the deal. We are not going to sell anything until people literally are trying to throw money at us, and we're constantly refusing it. And that's exactly what happened. And we went in about 100, I want to say about 180, somewhere between 150 and 200 episodes was when we started to monetize. So a very long time before we decided to monetize. It was over a year of providing free information on the podcast before we decide to monetize. And the way we made that decision was we'd constantly be talking about it every week. And it came to a point where we would walk into work together to meet, and each one of us would be like, dude, I got 3 DMs right now that say, how can I give you guys money? Would you start a Patreon? What you guys have done for me already has changed my life. I feel I owe you so much. Like every day we were starting to get these DMs, each of us. And so we all kind of looked at each other and said, okay, it's time. Now is time. It's getting to a point where people just want to donate money to us. Now we feel good about monetizing a program and selling. And we did. And we turned it on and began selling. And it wasn't gangbusters right away. We sold, a handful of programs. And then it was every other day we'd sell a couple programs. And, months later it was every day we sold a program. And then it's scaled. And it's something that I think a lot of people don't know also about Mind Pump is, if you're into fitness, you may have heard of us now, and they think we just kind of like blew up out of nowhere. And that's not true. It's been a 5-year journey of pretty much consistent year over year, month over month growth. And it's the same formula that we apply is add more value. When we make more money, we pour more into the business of adding more value and staying authentic, and our message is real and true and upfront. We turned down sponsors when they first came at us. Of course, when you're first building a business and you have no money, and the first sponsor comes around and says, "Hey, we'd like to sponsor your podcast and pay you X amount of dollars. Would you guys take it?" And we said no, and we said no for a good solid year before we started to take partnerships. And we started to take partnerships when we decided to start to seek out the partners that we wanted to advertise. So we said no to everybody who was coming after us, who just wanted to sell their product. And we started reaching out to companies that we either already used or were interested in. And then we convinced them that, hey, listen, we like what you're doing. We like what you're selling. We like your values of your company. It aligns with our podcast. Would you trust us to try and market it? And we would start off with like 4 commercials and do a very small contract. We would show them the return, and then we would lock big contracts that were 6 months and a year long.
Nice.
Wow, that's incredible. I think that you touched on something really good, because I think that there is this whole idea now that you can grow a following and monetize your brand within like 2 to 6 months, which I think, maybe in some magical one-off experience, maybe that'll happen. But a lot of times it is a lot of hard work, and it takes so much time. So what would you say is the best mindset or different, I don't know if you have affirmations or anything for someone who's in the middle of that right now, who is not where they want to be and just starting off and seeing that long road ahead of them?
Well, here's the mistake that I think people make when they want to sell something. And even if you're somebody who's listening and you have a great business idea or you have a great product that you want to sell, we had this idea that if we added so much value to your life, it wouldn't matter what we're selling. So yes, we knew the MAPS programming is the shit, no doubt. I think I will stand by it all day long and say it shits on 90% of all programs out there, because most of them are just a bunch of random exercises thrown together, and you've got 3 professionals that spend hours on hours putting each one of these programs together. And so the programming is unbelievable, and everybody goes through them, see incredible results. Plus,
I did it. I was one of your first people to buy your program.
Right. So you know the business.
Yeah, I went down from, 29% body fat to 18% body fat.
Yeah, you looked incredible after you started following the MAPS program. So no doubt, so I know 100. When Sal showed me it, I knew it was the business, and so we knew we had a gangbusters product. So I know everybody who starts a business, nobody starts a business and think their product sucks, right? So everybody is like, I've got the best product, right? Okay, so we could sit here and argue about all that shit all day long. That doesn't matter. The goal should be, when you're starting a business, or you asked, affirmations, it should be, I'm going to try and provide my audience, whether it be listenership, viewership, whatever it is, if you're a blogger, readers, I'm going to provide my audience so much fucking value, they feel compelled to give me their money. And until they start telling me that on a regular basis, not one person goes, oh my God, you changed my life, I want to give you money, and that's it. No. Most of the people listening are constantly telling you this. Then the way I look at it when you're building a business like this is, I'm going to keep pouring more into it and giving more until I start getting that. And to give you an example of so Mind Pump provides more free content on a daily basis. It's impossible for you to consume. That's where we're at now. We have, as we scaled, we made more money. More money went into adding more people to the team so we can have more. So we've got 7 bloggers working on the staff. We've got writers, we've got editors, we've got videographers. You've got brand management on this. You've got Sal, who's constantly writing stuff. We've got podcasts that are going out 5 times a week. We've got a YouTube team that's putting videos up, 3 to 5 videos every single week. So you are just inundated with free content that you can't possibly consume all of it. So if you keep going with that mentality of, I'm going to just keep pouring more of me, more value. So then when you decide whatever it is you're selling, whatever your gadget or program or thing that you want to monetize, most of your audience will go I want to support this person. I feel like they have added so much value to my life. People buy from people they like. And if you lead thinking that way, that I'm gonna win over these people by fundamentally changing their lives for the better, that whatever it is that I decide, which is also why we do so well with our partnerships. So when we introduce brands, somebody who's a loyal listener of Mind Pump, you don't just listen to Mind Pump and buy all of our programs, which is great and awesome. You also wear Viore, you eat skinny dipped almonds, you drink out of a mirror coffee cup, you do all the brand stuff, which that's why the brands love us. But that's all because we have provided so much value that our customers look back at it, it's well, I was going to drink coffee anyway, so I may as well drink it out of Mind Pump's cup. Or I was going to I was going to go follow a program anyway, so I might as well support Mind Pump. I was going to go buy these new badass Lululemon, and Viori's a competitor to them, and they're just as good. Like, I may as well buy from Mind Pump. So that's what ends up happening is we have led with providing so much value that as a byproduct, anything that we really decide, and as long as we stay, and the key is too, if we started to like hustle anything to make money, I'm sure that would eventually start to collapse underneath us, right? So if we started taking on any brand that would give us the most money, like we just took the highest bidder, which there's lots of companies that would outpay people that are paying us right now, but it's not shit that we want to peddle. Like, I mean, a company like Cellucor, one of the biggest companies to reach out to us, probably most people would think that's a dream. Like, we turned them down early on, and they wanted to pay us really good money, but we talked a lot of shit about supplements and how they're not that beneficial for you, and it's not a big rock, and there's a lot of other things that you should do before you think about doing something like that. And if you were going to use supplements, it's not a supplement that I would recommend. It's got artificial flavors in it, all kinds of dyes in it. It's not something that I would recommend. If I would probably do an organic protein powder that doesn't have artificial sweeteners and dyes in it, like Organifi. So these were things that these were decisions that we made, and that we agreed that we would stick to no matter the money. And so that's what continues to support it. But the message is always give back, give back, give back. And if you keep adding value like that, and if your people are not trying to throw their money at you, you haven't provided enough value. And that's really tough for somebody who's trying to be an influencer or trying to build something on social media to hear, because very few people get that. Very few people get far enough or give enough that they literally have people saying, can I pay you? Or would you start a Patreon? Or what can I do to support Mind Pump? Like, you're searching for that. If you're trying to build a business on podcasting, blogging, YouTube, Instagram, whatever platform we're talking about, your goal should be, I'm going to keep giving until I get those messages on a regular basis. Now I can introduce your awesome product that you've always known is so awesome. So that would be my affirmation that I would constantly tell myself.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really good. What's
What's been your biggest challenge thus far?
Oh, wow, we've had a lot of challenges. Let's see here. We'll start with probably the first challenge when we first started was having 4 for sure alpha CEO leaders all driving the ship. Like, I mean, I think, and it wasn't challenging from like an ego standpoint or who should lead or who should not lead. We just had to work out kind of our flow.
Right.
Because what is incredible about my 3 partners is nobody does care about being the man or having the title of CEO. Nobody gives a shit about anything like that. But it's still, when you got 4 men that are all used to leading, you know, you tend to be that person who steps forward and says, let's do this, or let's go here. And so when we first started, we had a hard time saying no to a lot of things. We would get in this room together and it would be like, let's do this. No, let's do this. Everyone had an idea and everyone wanted to do something. And what it ended up happening was we all kind of were pulling in different directions. So it took a while before we realized that one of the most important lessons that we had to learn in scaling a business to this size was we had to learn to say no. We had to learn to say no to opportunities, no to ideas, to all agree on a single thing that we are going to address in the business or drive towards, and hammer that home and get everybody on board and move the ship in that direction. Once we accomplish that, then we can go to the next person's idea. So that was probably the first major challenge that we had. The next one that comes to mind was when we started the YouTube channel. So we'll talk about mistakes that we made in the business. We started the YouTube channel a year later than the podcast. And I think that Gary Vee says this really well with when you look at, you know, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all the platforms. Think of it like stocks or real estate. And as a company, if you're building a company like we are, you are wanting to acquire real estate on all of those platforms if possible. And yes, I think that you should focus on one and get really good at it, or speak to the one that you're best at, just like we do on the podcast, because that's probably where we're best at. But that doesn't mean that you should neglect all the other platforms, because you don't want to be held hostage to just one platform. Because let's be honest, if we were in the middle, first 2 years of building the podcast, and we were just the podcast, and Apple iTunes all of a sudden says, okay, all these businesses are making so much money off of podcasting. Podcasting now costs $20,000 a month. Well, what the fuck will we do?
Yeah.
Like, we would be held hostage to that, right? And that would cripple some people that aren't making $20,000 a month. So you want to make sure that you start to spread yourself out over other platforms just to protect the business. So that was a mistake. We waited to build our email list. We waited to build YouTube. And I think the business would be that much further along had we started that earlier. So YouTube, we were a year later, and that's now, I think we're over 250,000 followers, our subscribers on YouTube. It adds, we get 500 to 700 new subscribers every single day, so it's rapidly growing. But do the math. Even adding 500 subscribers a day, do the math on that. Figure out how long that would take you to get to 1 million. It still takes a long fucking time to get to 1 million, even at 500 a day.
Yeah.
Years, right? So it's not like this myth about virability and going viral is one of the another permeated myth in the space. So great book for that, Hitmakers, talks all about this. It's not true. You don't go viral. What happens is you create something really good, very valuable content, and a couple very famous people or people that have lots of influence share your shit. That's what going viral technically is. And so when people create things trying to chase going viral, that's like an uphill battle for sure. You should focus on just creating really good content. Eventually, hopefully somebody famous or somebody big comes across it and then shares it, and then you get a catapult from that. So when we started the YouTube, we thought, and this is the lesson, this is a learning lesson that took a while for us, is we tried to mirror the formula on the podcast on the YouTube channel. So what we did was we got on there and we thought, okay, people on the podcast, they really like our humor and they like our good information. So Doug will video Sal, Justin, and Adam talking and laughing and joking a little bit and, ha ha ha, and then we'll get into some science and teach exercises, and people are going to love it. And the reason why this was a really hard lesson for us was when we were doing it, we were gaining about 50 new subscribers every day. So we thought we were doing great. We're doing the right thing. We're getting people every single day. We're growing, so we must be doing the right thing. So for about a year there, we didn't learn. And finally, I remember talking to Taylor about this, and he said, you know what, Adam, I really think that having all three of you on the YouTube channel is just really distracting. Like it feels like you're in a conversation. It's wasted, and we get a lot of comments that would say things like, "Get to the exercise. Who are these stupid idiots?" Like all the YouTube is like the most brutal, by the way.
For sure, yes.
So we were getting massacred on YouTube every day, but it was still growing. So we're like, "Fuck the haters, keep going. We're not paying attention to them." But that's a lesson I learned too. I don't think we should say "fuck the haters." I think we should say use that as a litmus test to help drive your content in a better direction, because they are people paying attention, whether they're haters or not. Mm-hmm. They are providing free feedback on your business. And if you're getting enough haters saying some of the same things, maybe that's a lesson for you. And we ignored those haters for a really long time and didn't really listen to and think, what if we were to do this and this? Okay, well, so we listen to Taylor. He decides, hey, Adam, let's just you and I do a video. So I do a single video looking at the camera, giving the tips, and it blows up. In fact, I think it's our most viral video right now. I think it's at like 1.9 or 2 million views. And that was a huge lesson for us. Like, oh my God, this whole time, the three of us knuckleheads, we were trying to talk, and what we learned, and here's the lesson, is that learn to speak to your platform. There are certain things that work well on Instagram. There are certain things that work well on podcasts, long form. There are certain things that are well for blogging. There are certain things that are good for tweeting. There are certain things that are good for YouTube. And they're all different. So it's important you learn to speak to your platform. And I didn't know that. I was trying to basically repurpose content. If we did it on the podcast, it should work on the YouTube. Well, not really, or not at the best it could. So that was a hard lesson for us. Emailing, I thought email lists were dead. I thought we were in this new time of social media being the king. That couldn't have been further from the truth. Our email list now outproduces anything else in our business. So originally when the business started, the podcast was the top of the funnel and was responsible for converting 100% of its revenue. It's now only responsible for about 25 or 30% of the revenue. The email list and the Facebook marketing that we do is responsible for the other probably 60 to 70% of that.
Wow.
So that was a major lesson, was not getting an email list up. And the same kind of rules apply on the email list. If you capture people's emails and all you do is try and sell, you're not going to do very well there. So our email list, there's a lot of time and effort put into that. You get Friday fitness tips, and you get a newsletter, and every time we send a letter to you, there's a big old thing that's copywritten, and we've got YouTube videos that we insert in there, and lots of value. And then at the very bottom, if you have questions about our programs, click here. Very subtle. It's not a sale, buy this from us, here's our program. It's not in your face trying to sell. Then everybody opts out, nobody listens to you. But if you treat your email list the same way that we treated our podcast and we treat the YouTube, which is add value, again, eventually the sales will come. Same thing goes for our Instagram. If you look at all of our Instagram accounts, tell me the last time that you've seen one of us post the way we make money. You don't see it anywhere on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I never post about it any way that I make money. And so I think that's part of why I think people don't realize where the company is at, is because we do it a lot different than what you see right now. Right now, the formula is get a bunch of followers and then start peddling stuff on Instagram. 411 for those that are trying to build an Instagram business, the conversion rate on Instagram sucks in comparison to all the other platforms that we're talking about. So somebody who, and I can tell you that based off of what they're selling, I could probably give you an idea of what somebody's making off of what they're selling and how many followers they actually have, because I understand conversion rates and what they're trying to market and sell, and it's terrible. Like a guy that has 4 million followers and is hustling his t-shirt line that he thinks is awesome is probably making $300,000 to $600,000 a year, which sounds like a lot of money, but you got 4 million people following you and you got a 6-figure business, like that's not that successful. Not to mention it's a fleeting business, since sooner or later the 17-year-old kids grow up, find out that your t-shirts were made in China, you just throw your logo on it, flipped it and sold it for double the price, and it shrinks in the dryer.
I love that. I love
Shrinks in the dryer. That's good.
Well, one of the things that we kind of wanted to touch on today, I know that you said that you are now doing sales training. So obviously this is a sales podcast, and there's a lot of salespeople that listen. So kind of touch on like what your kind of core values, like some of the core things that you teach, that you talk about, that would benefit some of our listeners.
Sure. I love sales. So I was a sales guy at heart who fell in love with fitness. My mom was in sales, my dad was in sales, my grandpa, my uncle, my whole family was in sales. So it was ingrained in me for sure, even though I didn't know that until I got older. When I teach sales, I lead normally with telling people this. The difference between a good closer and a great closer is this. Any good closer can read all the sales books, learn how to circle the wagon, overcome objections, and get really good at pushing somebody into a sale. That's a good closer. Mm-hmm. A great closer knows how to ask all the right questions to pull somebody into a sale.
Makes it emotional, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the important part of that is the person who's the good closer kind of pushes somebody to sell, and you can always tell the difference. Like they close somebody, and then the person afterwards has buyer's remorse. They're like, oh my God, I got suckered into that, and I shouldn't have done that, and they feel that way. Somebody who got pulled into a sale, they leave high-fiving you. They feel so excited they got started on whatever it is you're selling them, and they walk out feeling good about their sale because you led them into the sale by asking them the right questions. So when we teach stuff like that. I think it's become a very lost art. In training trainers how to sell, it was one of my favorite things to do, because 99% of all personal trainers that get into personal training hate sales.
Right.
They get in because they want to change lives. Like nobody ever said, I'm going to be a personal trainer because I want to be rich. Like this doesn't happen. Like somebody said that. Like, you get into personal training because you like people, or health and fitness has fundamentally changed your life so much that you want to share that message and share that information with other people. It's a very passionate, driven business. And as a leader in that space, so for most of my career, I trained trainers. So from 21 years old till still today, that's what I do, is I teach trainers how to train. And part of that is to be successful as a trainer, you've got to learn how to sell. If you can't sell somebody on the idea of training with you, you're not going to get a lot of clients.
Right.
And really all sales is effective communication. So if we can just take the nasty side of when people hear the word sales and go like, oh, I don't want to be a salesman, and stop thinking of it like that and go, all it really is effective communication.
Yeah.
And learn how to ask people the right questions to lead them into a sale. It gets a lot easier. So when we teach these courses, this is what we do, is we go down there. Now, of course, ours are tailored around fitness, but the same rules apply on, like, if you're really good at selling anything, it really transfers over to, I could go sell cars, I could sell ice cream cones, I could sell equipment. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Once it's effective communication, and when you know that and you get that really well, then you just change what it is that you're selling, right? And when you start off, I think you get excited and you want to say all the information. Will you want to buy this? And it's like, whoa, dude, like that's like way too much. And learn to back off and ask people questions that are going to lead them in the direction that you want to go to. So with fitness, we used to create this 10 to 15 question type of a par Q where we'd ask what their fitness goals are. And let's put this any way you want. So I don't know if you guys have specific people that listen to you that are in careers that are obviously not related to fitness. It's sell makeup, whatever. I could sell you whatever with this analogy. It's just, you're going to ask them, what is it that you're looking for? So I want to find out what it is. Oh, okay, well, I'm looking for this, type of mascara. Okay, here's where people go wrong is they ask like one question and they go right away into the sell. It's like, gather as much information as you can, because normally the first response that somebody gives you is very surface, no matter what it is. So I love, right after I ask any question, doesn't matter what it is, I ask him why. Why is that? Or could you explain what you mean? And when I get them to do that, then all of a sudden, like, the real stuff starts to come out. And with trainers, it's normally these deep-rooted, like, insecurities or underlining issues that got them to come to the gym. So I'll get Susie, who's sitting across from me, and she's telling me that she wants to lose weight, but I'm not going to just settle for, I want to lose weight. I'm going to ask her, well, why do you want to lose weight? And then I'm going to want her to say, well, it doesn't make me feel good. And it's like, really? Well, how come that doesn't make you feel good? Well, yesterday, and then here it comes. Here's the real story. Like, I was getting dressed and my husband made a remark to me, and it's like, oh, so you can see now you've made that connection with her on why she's really here. And I think that there's that connection with everybody who's coming to potentially make a purchase of anything. Something drove them to inquire about whatever it is that you're selling. Your goal as a good salesperson is to get all the way to the root and the bottom of that, and then have a conversation around that by asking more questions. And then when it comes to, and then you can get fancy. Like, I teach alternate advanced close, and we teach circling the wagon and things like that. But I think that the part that people like mystify sales is they overcomplicate it. And
1000%.
it's really just, right. It's just a series of questions of asking really good questions and getting to the bottom of it. And then it's inevitable. You're going to walk some sales. Some people aren't going to buy.
Yeah.
And the mistake that a lot of trainers used to make for me is they walk the sale, and boss man, I come walking over and I say, Jeremy, how come they didn't buy from you? Oh, well, they didn't have any money, or oh, they give you like all the excuses. Okay, well, what did you learn from it? Well, I don't know. What do I do if they don't have money? Like, okay, this kid didn't fucking learn anything. It's like you should walk away from every sale that you walk, and you should be asking yourself, what is it that I didn't ask because it always comes down to two things. It always comes down to value and price. This comes all the way back full circle to how we started this whole conversation. Value and price. If someone doesn't buy what you're selling, you didn't provide enough value in what that is. It's always that. Sal uses a great analogy that's so extreme, but it gets the point across to people. He goes, if I told you guys here in San Jose, which anybody who knows what San Jose is at, houses are like the average medium home, I think is like $1 million over here, right?
Like 1.9. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? So if I told you that this $1 million home, if I said, hey, this house is for sale for $10,000, would you not go borrow money from your family, find $10,000? Because why? Why would you do that? Even if you didn't have $10,000 to your name, and I told you, Chelsea, you could have my $1 million house today for $10,000, would you go find $10,000 to buy that house?
Without a doubt.
No doubt. Why?
Because it's such a good investment. Because I could flip it and sell it for the $1 million and make all that money.
Right, because the value it's already established.
Yeah.
Because you're a smart person, you know how much homes cost. You definitely know how much homes in the Bay Area cost.
Yeah.
And someone to sell it for that ridiculously low is outrageous.
Right.
So when we're selling anything, our job as good salespeople is to provide so much value in the product that when it finally comes to the price, it's a fucking no-brainer.
Yeah.
And this is the same formula that applied for Mind Pump. And so I was telling you guys earlier on the podcast, we were going to provide so much, we're going to shove so much value down your throat that when we say, hey, our programs are $150, you're like, I don't care, whatever. We had people, this is a true story, that bought, we must have had at least 60 or 70 people on our forum that after they bought said, I'm following another program right now. I'm actually not even going to follow this program. I actually don't even care to do this program, but I wanted to support you guys. They just bought it to support.
Wow.
And the market average for an online digital program, by the way, is $27 to $57. We sell at 3 to 4 times that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, and that just shows you how much you have the power to dictate the value in whatever it is that you're selling. So make it mascara, make it personal training, make it houses. It doesn't matter what it is. If they ain't buying from you, that's because you didn't provide enough value in what the fuck you're selling.
Yeah.
So that's your fault as a salesperson. You need to either, one, do more homework and research on your product.
Yes.
So you have those tools that are necessary, or you need to ask better questions because whatever it is you might have been trying to sell to that person wasn't what they were really shopping for.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I
That is
think
the message.
Yeah, and I think a big deal too is like, so I'm in uniform sales. So button up 65-35 polyester cotton blend shirt. It's the same as our competitors. It's a 65-35 polyester shirt. So to make myself different, I'm going to offer a different shirt. And it might be double the price, but because it's a better shirt and it's different, it's totally eliminated any aspect of being a commodity. And we've eliminated the pricing game because I'm bringing something so much more valuable and so much more different that it eliminates that whole, why give somebody the same thing for the same amount of money when you could give something to them better for a better value.
Well, not only that, something because I know who you are, and so I know your personality and what you probably do and you don't even realize you realize that you do, is you provide an incredible experience for somebody who's buying that. And see, when we are competing on things that either I can go down the street and I can go buy the same thing, literally the same thing, right, for the same price or even cheaper. Like, how am I going to win there, right? How am I going to? Well, the way I'm going to win is I'm going to wow you in my experience, your experience. I'm going to make sure you fucking love me. You're the whole everything from trying it on to how it looks on you to having conversation with you. Like, all of that is effective communication. All of that is sales.
1,000%.
Right, and you just gotta. People have to learn to look at it. And my biggest pet peeve when people are in sales and they walk sales and their response is I put this together early on, like. There's always somebody being closed. Either you got closed or they got closed.
Yeah.
So if they walked and they didn't buy from you, you got closed. I lost. So where in that conversation did I go wrong? Did I try and go for the sale too much? Did I offer them something they weren't looking for? Did I not build enough value in the product? Did I not give them an incredible experience? Somewhere in that process, I didn't give it all, or I didn't give enough. So to create that value price discrepancy, that the value was so high that the price seemed like a no-brainer for whatever it was that I was presenting. So I don't give a shit what it is. No matter what it is that you're selling, that's your job as a good salesperson, is to provide that type of an experience for somebody. And the beautiful part is when you get really, really good at it, the price no longer matters.
Yeah,
and
they buy you.
My goal used to be, I used to talk, I love the takeaway close. In my opinion, the greatest close in the book is the takeaway close. So if someone comes to me, and this is another mistake I see in sales, whatever it is you're trying to sell, like here's a rookie salesperson, what they do. Like someone walks in, and like we'll use your example with the clothing line, right? Or the clothes. Would you say button-up vest? Is that what it is?
It's just a shirt, a button-up shirt.
Okay, so a button-up shirt. They come in, and they're like, hey, Chelsea, my name's Susie, and I want to buy 7 button-up shirts from you. Okay, rookie salesman goes like, okay, here we go, and they sell you the 7 right away. Like, not me. Like, I'm like, oh, for sure, I'm gonna talk to this person for a while. Like, what are you getting 7 shirts for? That's a lot. And I'm gonna get to know this person, find out, and give them this incredible service because they come in already. They're gonna spend 7. When you're done with me, you're gonna buy 14.
Right.
That's because I'm gonna take away the sale, even though I've got the sale already. I think that's a mistake that people make all the time. Is they all of a sudden get excited, just as what you could do. Again, we're taking this conversation full circle and how Mind Pump was built. Could have been really easy for us the first time that Sal or Justin got a DM that said, hey, man, I want to donate some money. If the first time someone said that, all of a sudden we said, okay, it's time to turn on the switch. Let's sell some shit. It's like, okay, we probably would have started way too early. No, we waited until we were being bombarded by people trying to give us money. Yeah. It was every day sliding in the DM saying, can I donate? Please start a Patreon. Would you guys sell me this? Like, when it got to that point, now we know, okay, it's time for us to sell. Now we can start selling. And then when we do, guess what? Nobody said, oh my God, MAPS programs are so expensive compared to the average program. Programs I can get Jillian Michaels for $27.99. Why am I spending $150 for Mind Pump? That's ridiculous. Why? Because no one gave a shit what the price was. Yeah. Because the value had been built already that we probably could have sold it for even more than that. So every sale is like that. Every time you get someone, and when you finally get somebody to a point where they're asking to buy, my favorite thing is to change the subject. I don't want to talk money. This isn't about money. This is about making sure that this shirt fits you perfect. You love it. I want to make sure these are just one. Let me show you all the different things we have because I know you came in for these 7, but I have stuff that's even better deal that you might like, or I have different colors. I'm going to show them I'm going to give them an incredible experience.
Yeah.
And it would be easy for me just to make the sale, but now I'm going to take away and I'm going to provide a great time for them. And then guess what might happen? What might happen is they buy the 7 they came in for, and then they go, you know what, Adam? Like, I do like the way that one looks on me. Give me the purple one too and the red one. I like that. And now they walk out with 9. It's like that's how sales should be. And when you are presenting anything that you're presenting, again, you should be thinking like, how do I give this person so much value that they ask me for the sale versus me saying, okay, so did you want to buy this? Like, if you got to do that, like, you didn't do a very good job. Even if you get the sale, which is also why I think can be detrimental to teaching someone sales, is sometimes they get false feedback where just because you sold something doesn't necessarily mean you were a great salesperson. That person was going to buy from it. They would have bought from a robot.
Right.
If you're great in sales, you can bump, you can change mind, you can redirect, you can do all that stuff because you're a great communicator and you know how to build great value in your product.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Well, at the end of this, we kind of like to give our guests a little platform. So if there's anything that we didn't get to touch on, if we didn't get to talk about that you just happen to be super passionate about, like, an ending message that you love to share with any of our listeners or your followers, what would that be? You have the platform. Loaded question.
Yeah, right. A totally loaded question. Well, as far as our business is concerned, I like to lead with adding value. Please don't go buy anything from me. What we have is we've provided some incredible free tools for tons of people. We'll start with we have a free app, Mind Pump Media, which allows you, because we have over 1,000 episodes full of tons of great, incredible content. And if you have specific topics that are related to health, fitness, science, business, sales. I mean, we talk about all this stuff on the podcast. So if you have specific topics you want to learn about, you type it into the search bar, and then you can see all the episodes where we've talked about those things. So start with something like that. We also, on the website, mindpumpmedia.com, we have 30 days of free coaching, probably one of our most valuable things that we offer. And it's basically all the information that we have provided on this podcast and what the three of us trainers think are the most important things that I could teach you over the course of 30 days, from everything from nutrition to exercise science. And we've put it all together in a 30-day type of a tutorial. So every day you get a new email that shows you a bunch of nutrition facts, a bunch of studies to support that, videos, exercise, everything. That's on the website. So, and then we also have mindpumpfree.com, which are a ton of free guides that we have written that are specific to back pain, shoulder pain, building your arms. You want to burn body fat, build your abs, build your butt, like name it, related to health and fitness. We have a bunch of free guides on there. So what I tell everybody anytime I'm on shows is don't buy anything from me. Go take advantage of all the free content. We appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a freaking knowledge-filled episode. So that was incredible. We really appreciate your time, your expertise. You're amazing. We absolutely love Mind Pump. And
Yes,
thanks
big fan.
Yes, very, very big fan. So thanks for joining us. Everyone who is listening right now, make sure to that you are subscribed to us. Give us a rating, give us a review. It helps us a lot. Make sure that you're subscribed to our